أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف المرسلين وعلى صحبه أجمعين ومن اتبع لسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته يا أيها الإخوة والأخوات. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I hope you're in a good state of health. I greet you with the greeting of Islam, which is to say, may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon you. After that greeting, inshallah, we invoke peace and blessings upon His Messenger Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the Imam of the Messengers and the seal of the prophecy, and upon all of his companions, and upon his family, and upon all those who follow his guidance and his tradition until the Day of Judgment. Amma ba'd, now as to what proceeds, inshallah, we continue with our lessons of Mukhtasar al-Akhdari, the abridgment of Imam al-Akhdari in morals, purification, and in prayer. We began first and foremost the section on adab, the section on morals, etiquette, akhlaq, the section on the wajibat, meaning that which is obligatory for the Muslim to perform, and the munhiyat as well, meaning those things that the Muslim has to stay away from. After that, he began the section on purity, the fasl fi tahara, a section on purity, and this is the third iteration, the third lesson in which he's going to be discussing purity. In the last lesson, he had said effectively that if someone knows the particular area in which something of filth touches, najasa, meaning such as urine, feces, prostratic fluid, and pre-ejaculation fluid, excessive copious amounts of blood, semen, then what he does is that he cleans that particular place of the filth, be it his body, be it his prayer mat, be it his clothes, whatever the case might be. He says, but if the identification of the filth becomes dubious, meaning that he knows that filth has touched that cloth, meaning that particular garment, or that particular area of his body, or that particular place where he's praying, but he has no idea the exact spot, then he washed the entire garment. And then he says, if a person is in a place, for example, where there is filth there, for example, he's in a washroom, or he's walking through a place where there's sewage, right? But something hits him, stuff like that, but he's not sure as to whether that filth touched him or not, then he would just sprinkle a bit of water on where he thinks it might have touched him. If he knows he's walking through somewhere that's filthy, or say he's urinating, for example, and he's not sure that there's splashback, as an example, then he would just take some water and sprinkle it. You understand? But this is if the case of doubt is preponderant over the case of being sure that nothing has touched him. Meaning if you're overwhelmingly in doubt, if you just have a small bit of doubt, then you just ignore that. You treat that as though it's just, you treat it as though it's irrelevant, because doubt doesn't remove certainty in the Sharia. Whenever you're certain of something and you have a small bit of doubt, that small bit of doubt is not enough to remove the certainty that you had before. And he had also said that whoever has something that touches him, he knows, I'm walking on the road and something touches me. I see a speck of brown dust touch me, but I'm not sure whether it's just dust or whether it's feces or it's something that's najis or something liquid touches me. I'm not sure whether it's feces, I'm not sure whether it's urine, I'm not sure whether it's water. Then he just ignores that. He doesn't do anything, because as we said, doubt does not remove certainty. If you were to obey that thought every single time, then what would happen is he would be in a state of waswas, because anytime some type of water sprinkles on him, he might think to himself, oh, this might be urine. Let me go and wash the entire cloth, the entire garment that I'm wearing, right? So this is something that he should not do. He says that whoever, it is in the previous section that we're recapping here, he said that whoever remembers that he has filth on his body, or on his prayer mat, like the place where he's praying that's going to touch him, while he's praying, then he stops his prayer and then he goes and he cleans the filth off. And the only reason why he would continue his prayer is if he fears that the prayer time would exit, if he was to engage in, if he was to cut off his prayer and go back and try to pray it again. If he knows that he has enough time to cut the prayer off, clean the filth off, come back and then pray and complete the prayer, without the prayer time exiting, then he should do that. If not, then it is what it is. He just continues praying. You understand? If somebody prays the entire prayer and he has filth on his body, but he's not aware that there's filth on his body, right? Or he's not aware that there's filth on his clothes until he prays and he says Assalamu alaikum, he finishes the prayer. If there's still time left for that prayer, meaning the time of the next prayer hasn't entered, then he returns the prayer, meaning he prays the prayer again. If the time of the prayer exits, then it's okay. He doesn't repeat that prayer, because the obligation of having your clothes be pure, it's contingent on being qadiran and dhakiran, meaning having the capacity to remove the filth, right? If there's no water, there's nothing I can do to remove that filth, then it's either wear the clothes that have filth or go naked, so wear the clothes. And dhakiran, you have to remember it, meaning that if I'm not aware the whole time that I prayed in filthy clothes until after I finished the prayer, then it was outside of my control. That's with the particular thing of removing the najasa from your clothes. Not everything is contingent on being qadir and dhakiran. If you don't make wudu for your prayer because you forgot and you pray, as soon as you remember, you have to go back and repeat that prayer, because the wudu is a condition of the soundness of the prayer. Without wudu, there is no prayer. So inshallah, today he gets to faslun fi fara'id al-wudu'. Today is a section on the obligations of wudu. If you hear the word fard means an obligation. It means that when it's embedded into an act of worship, the obligatory elements of something are those elements without which this act of worship itself is not obtained. You understand? They're different than conditions. Conditions are things outside of the act that you have to have met before the act can be valid. Obligations are things that are embedded within the act itself, that if they are not found within the act, then the act itself is not sound. You understand? So these are what's known as obligations. Meaning, if any of these things are missing from your wudu, then you have no wudu. You have no wudu. There is no wudu. So, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. He says, Fara'id al-wudu sab'un. He says the obligations of wudu, the obligations of ablution, as we generally translate it in English. You'll find that many of the words that we translate from Arabic to English when it comes to the religion, we use old style English words, because unfortunately Western society has decided to turn its back upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you'll see that religious language is becoming inconspicuous and missing in this part of the world. So things that, reflect religion and purity and goodness, the language sounds antiquated. So the words like blessings, ablution, sins, you'll never see that today on news. You won't see it on TV shows. But the words still exist in the English language because they reflect a time when these people were conscious of the reality that there is a God and the reality that God has to be worshipped. So the Muslims in reality are the ones that are keeping these words still alive. So he says, Fara'id al-wudu'i sab'un. He says the obligations of wudu are 7. The first one is an-niyya. An-niyya means the intention. The intention here is not that it has to be spoken. It's not that it has to be, expressed. It's just you have the internal orientation towards performing this particular act at the outset of that act. And the intention has to be attached to the act itself. Meaning, you don't say, I'm going to go make wudu, and then you sit for 30 minutes and watch TV, and then you start washing yourself. No, the intention has to be, you would need a new intention. You understand? And the intention is as simple as getting up, going to the washroom and saying, I'm making wudu, and I'm not saying, but thinking to yourself, or having the intention, having the orientation that I'm making wudu for the purpose of being able to pray. Or I'm making wudu for the purpose of removing the hadas, the state of hadas that I'm in. Or I'm making wudu to be able to allow me to do things that not being in a state of wudu would not allow me to do. Right? Whichever one of these intentions that you use, it covers the rest of them. So if I make the intention to do wudu for the purpose of praying, then I can still read the Quran, because the Quran, reading the Quran, you have to have wudu in order to do it. Right? If I make wudu for the intention of reading the Quran, then I can still pray the prayer with that same wudu. I don't have to make a new wudu for the purpose of being able to read the prayer, as opposed to a wudu for being able to read the Quran. You understand? So the first and foremost thing is the niyyah, is the intention. You understand? So what you have to do when it comes to the niyyah is just you have to have the orientation to go and perform that act. That's it. From the moment you get up and you know that I'm going to the washroom for the purpose of making wudu, that's enough of an intention, right? Now, the second one, he said, these are the obligations. These are the things, if they're out of your wudu, they're not your wudu is not sound, meaning that your wudu is not valid. He says the first second one, he says وَغَسْلُ الْوَجْهِ is to wash the face. Is to wash the face. Washing the face is that you take water, you wash it from your hairline, the tip of your hairline, to the tip of your chin, to the right side of your face, meaning where your ears start, you understand? And then to the left side of your face, where your ears start. That space, everything that's in that space, is considered part of your face, right? Obviously, you don't pour water into your eyes, right? That's extremism. But you close your eyes, you wash your face. Everything that's on your face, you wash it. If you have a beard, for example, and your beard is thin, then you make sure the water penetrates and touches your skin. If your beard is thick, then you just would touch the part of the beard that covers your face and make sure you just rub the water on it. You don't have to penetrate the water when you're making wudu for your beard. So that's the second obligation. The third obligation, he says, وَغَسْلُ الْيَدَيْنِ إِلَى الْمِرْفَقَيْنِ is to wash your arms from the tip of your fingers up until your elbows. Is to wash your arms from the tip of your finger up until your elbows. Some, they say, this includes the elbow, meaning wash until you cross the elbow bone, right? Don't stop it until the elbow. That's safer. But if you stop it at the elbow, your wudu is still valid. You understand? If you stop it at the elbow, your wudu is still valid. That's the third obligation. The fourth obligation is, he says, وَمَسْحُ الرَّأْسِ is to wipe your head. Is to wipe your head with water. To wipe it in such a way that the water penetrates the roots. You understand? Whereas these other ones are ghusl. Ghusl means to wash. This one is to wipe. You understand? This one is wipe. Meaning you wet your hands and then you take the water, you go from the front of your head to the back of your head, and then you cover all the space from the left side to the rest to the right side. You make sure every part of your head is wiped with water. He says the fifth obligation, he says وَغَسْلُ الرَّجْلَيْنِ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ is to wash your feet, is to wash your feet from the toes all the way into the ankle and everything that covers that space from down and horizontally. You understand? Both feet. Rijlain is both feet. You wash your right foot, you wash your left foot. You make sure the water reaches between your toes, although you don't have to rub between your toes, but you have to make sure water reaches it, and then you make sure water reaches the bottom of your feet. You make sure everything between your ankles to the bottom of your feet, from the top of your toes to the back of your heels, all that is considered your foot. So you make sure you wash all of that on both feet. That's the fifth obligation. The sixth obligation is delk, is to rub. Whatever you're washing, whatever you're wiping, it can't be that you just throw water on yourself. Rather, you have to transfer the water from your hand to your face, right? Or if you're in the shower, say you're making wudu in the shower, it's enough that the water is being transported to you, but you still have to take your hand and just use it and rub what the water is touching on that limb. You understand? So if I'm washing my face, say I'm in the shower, the water is touching my face, I still have to take my hands and rub and cover the entire distance of the face that I just described, from the hairline to the chin, from ear to ear, and everything that's in between that. You understand? Or with my arm, the same thing. With my feet, the same thing. So whatever you're washing, you make sure that you rub it. You make sure that the places, whatever limb that you're covering, for example, your arm, you make sure you get between your fingers, right? With your feet, you make sure you get between your toes. You ensure that you rub it. That's called a delk. You understand? That's called a delk. Some say al-arak, but a delk or al-arak is the same thing. It means just to rub. The seventh one, the final obligation of the wudu, is al-fawr. Al-fawr means continuity. It means continuity, meaning that you perform the wudu in one go. You don't perform your limbs, you don't perform your hands, and then you go sit in 10 minutes, and then you come back, you wash your face, and then you take another 5 minutes, you come back, you wash your ears. That's not the wudu. The wudu is from the intention till the completion, all in one go, all continuous. The scholars, they say that the definition of the amount of time that would be the maximum threshold between each limb, right, is the amount of time it would take for your limbs to get dry in cold and stuff like in balanced weather, and weather that's not too hot or weather that's not too cold. from the time that it will take for your limbs to completely get dry, and that particular time, that's the amount of time that you have between one limb and the next limb. So if I wash my face and I take my time to the point where it's like a 20 degrees Celsius day and my face gets completely dry, there's not a trace of water on it, that means I should start my wudu over again, because it's as though I've taken too much time. It's as though I'm making two acts of worship. You understand? So al-fawr, continuity, is something that is incumbent upon the person that's performing wudu. It's an obligation. So inshallah we'll go over it again. He says the obligations of wudu are 7. He says the first is the intention, the second is the washing of the face, the third is the washing of the arms from your fingertips all the way to your elbows, both arms. The fourth is to wipe your head with water, meaning everything that's on your head, your hair, everything. The fifth is to wash your 2 feet up to the ankles. The sixth is to rub whatever it is that you're washing, that you have to rub it as well. And the seventh is that you have to perform the wudu in a single continuous take, that it should not be separated by long periods of time and doing other activities. You understand? Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We'll end it here. May Allah reward each and every single one of you.